Hello, welcome to this May edition of Monroeville at your service. My name is...
Whoa, what is going on? You've been here for only 3 months and you're already taking over my job?
Oh, well, we talked about it the other day and you said, may as well, so here I am.
May as well, yeah, Mays is short for Monroeville at your service. And I thought may as well talk about it. And I guess I was a little busy and we didn't get around to it.
Oh, well, of course, I'm partially deaf, so that was my bad. But, he already has me hooked up. We're recording. Can I just stay here?
Sure, go for it.
Thanks.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Monroeville, at your service, begins now. A little fun start off to the May edition of Monroeville at your service. And why not? In successive shows, we've had our municipal mayor, a state senator, a state representative, and a U.S. congresswoman. And while those were nice, enlightening conversations, we decided it was time to bring a little levity to the show, switch it up a bit. My co-star in our little skit is someone I'm happy to work alongside. I'd like to introduce our newly hired assistant manager, M.K. Lang, or should I say Dr. Lang. Welcome.
Thank you. It's a real honor to be here and a pleasure to serve.
Well, the honor's ours. When I started here in Monroeville, one of the first things that was put on my plate was the need to hire an assistant manager. In fact, my predecessor, Tim Little, before he retired, had convinced the council that Monroeville was a big enough municipality to have an assistant manager. Before Tim, way back when Marshall Bond was manager, there happened to be assistant managers in the legacy line of Monroeville. But for me, it was like a first order of business to hire an assistant manager. And while that's great to have that kind of support of council, I didn't even know how things worked here, and it was kind of awkward to figure out, well, what would I need in an assistant manager? So when you say honor and great to be here, it's really an honor for us, because in the delay of even thinking about advertising for the position and getting my feet wet and figuring out how things worked around here, really gave us a chance to meet, because this time last year, you were like where?
Everywhere. I was everywhere. So we moved around a lot. I'm a Pennsylvania native, and I grew up in the Altoona, Blair, Bedford County area. I attended Duquesne University School of Law for my paralegal certificate. So that was like my first introduction to Pittsburgh in the surrounding area. And, just the past couple years have flown by. My husband has a federal job and we've moved around quite frequently for that. So I was in Texas, which is not as pleasant as everyone seems. It's very hot there. And there's a lot of cacti and sand. So we were down there. I was serving in a role at Midland County, and God works everything out for our good, and everything happens according to his plan and his timing. And so everything just worked out really well for my family and I, that we were able to come home to Pennsylvania. And, I landed here in Monroeville and haven't looked back.
And a ton has happened since this time last year, because you moved back, had a baby, got a new job. Of course, your husband relocated, finding apartments, trying to sell homes, applying for jobs, all while finishing your PhD. Let's talk about that. That's a lot, but let's talk about the PhD. What is your doctorate in?
Yeah, so I pursued political science as my undergrad, and nobody ever tells you this, but when you graduate with a political science degree, you're never really sure what to do next. So I started with the law school route, which is how I found Duquesne, and I originally wanted to be a county solicitor, but I had my older son, Aiden, he's 9, and so I ended up with my paralegal certificate. I got my first professional job as a paralegal for Center County, Pennsylvania, and I worked with the district attorney there. And I was fortunate to meet some very powerful women in leadership during my time there. And Stacey Parks Miller was the district attorney at the time. Margaret Gray was Center County's administrator. And two wonderfully highly educated women who showed me how they served and how they used their skills to not just empower their community, but empower people who worked for them. And Margaret inspired me to pursue my master's in public administration. And I went through the same program she did at Penn State, actually. And after that, I said, why not do one more? I saw a struggle in government where leadership training and leadership development was like a very highly sought after thing. And so I said, that's what I want to do. So I wanted to be a better leader. I thought that pursuing my PhD in leadership psychology would help me to be a better leader, a better person, and also help whatever organization I worked with grow and develop as well.
So it's a leadership psychology or the psychology of leadership?
It's interchangeable,
Yeah.
But I like the term leadership psychology.
Yeah, leadership is a big deal. And for me, I'm always thinking about how, as manager of Monroeville, do I exercise leadership and trying to get into that. But what was your PhD dissertation in?
So I really focused, not only am I a female in leadership, but also a self-identified introvert. That means I don't like social settings. I don't like being recorded. I don't like large groups. I get a lot of my energy from quiet activities, like quiet leadership and empowering people, being in the background and helping others. And in our professional field, as leaders in local government, quiet is sometimes frowned upon. And so one of my passions is to prove that as a quiet leader, as an introvert, I can be just as successful as my extrovert counterparts who may be more charismatic or who may be that life of the party kind of individual. And I discovered through my studies that we both, introverts and extroverts, have different skill sets that are both equally successful.
Yeah, it's intriguing because I'm married to an introvert, and just knowing what it takes for her to be in different settings and how much energy it requires. What I found, we've been married for over 35 years, is that I think in many ways I've become much more introverted than I would have described or thought of myself before, because I do feel exhausted, like whether it's a municipal meeting or doing different things like taping Monroeville at Your Service. They can be quite exhausting. A lot of energy is taken to do that. And people do expect leaders to always have something to say. But what I've found about you, and what I think was very wonderful, is that you're so dedicated to doing it right and to learning and putting the hard work in. And I think, to me, those are ingredients that will lead to success, no matter what you do. And I kind of joke, I don't know how many years, but when you're like governor of Pennsylvania, I hope you are fond of me because, I might need a job. Who knows? They might be tired of me here in Monroeville. But I'm just very impressed at your work ethic and how you've been able to kind of like jump in and look for things to do. So you've been here a few months. What do you think of Monroeville?
I absolutely love Monroeville. I'll be honest, growing up in Blair County, going back and forth, I've been a lifelong patient at Children's Hospital here in Pittsburgh. So I'm very familiar with 22. I'm very familiar with the area. And, I never really gave Monroeville a thought at first. It was just a small area that I passed through to get to Pittsburgh. But relocating here and having the ability to spend this past summer, we live in the area now. We participate in recreation and community events in the area. And I find Monroeville to have a wonderful culture of excellence. Like, people here are welcoming. They want the best. They strive to be the best. The business community is of the likes of which I've never seen. I mean, they communicate, they cooperate, they're all about the greater good. And whether you're a business owner or just a resident or a leader in government, I see visibly every day how we're all interacting just to serve. And that's really what I want to do in my role, is to serve. And I think Monroeville will give me an amazing opportunity to do that. You and I both have benefited much from the Monroeville Chamber of Commerce and the MORE meetings. Give a shout out to our
folks who go to the more meetings every Thursday and what a benefit those are to get to know people and the goodwill that you get from that. Among the dozens of projects that you're like really involved in, the biggest is the Capital Improvement Plan. We call it the SIP. We like to do acronyms in government, but the Capital Improvement Plan or program is our way of trying to think, hey, these big purchases like vehicles or building improvements or equipment are extraordinary because they cost more than what you normally spend for your day-to-day operations, and they last longer. So if you can think of a house, a capital expenditure might be a car or remodeling and putting an addition, a college degree, that's sort of a capital investment. So talk a little bit about the capital improvements program in Monroeville. What's our goal, and when do we think the public will get a chance to review it, and when do we hope the council will be voting on it?
Absolutely. So one of my first projects coming in this past February was to dive into the finance data, and finance world is vast. I mean, our budget is so large, and we have so many line items that the thing that I valued most about this project is really just having the ability to dive in and learn. And it's been quite a learning experience. With capital improvements planning, we haven't really had a structure over the past few years, and so we're looking to build that as a team. And it's amazing the process that we've had so far, because we've made it very interactive. We're not just putting something together and putting it in front of our council and saying, here, vote on this. What we're doing is we're involving everyone in the process. We're involving council, we're involving the department heads, we're involving the community. And just these first two steps that we've done, we did a wish list. So we said to the departments, what do you want or what do you need? And we looked at those. We compared those against the regulations and eligibility of those items, and we designed a ranking system. So the council now has seen 2 drafts of our capital improvements plan, and not to scare anybody, because this is not the final number, but for a 5-year period, it was sitting at about $122 million. And over the course of the past few weeks, we've been going through, looking at items and saying, is this necessary? Is this important? Where does this fall? And we've slowly been able to chip away at that. I anticipate that we'll have a 3rd draft for council to view that kind of brings down the cost drastically into a much more measurable number. Based on past revenue and expenditure tracking, we're looking at about $2 to $5 million per year that we could spend on capital improvement projects that are not grant funded, foundation funded, or privately funded. And when we're looking at those things, hopefully in June, we may have a first draft for residents to be able to look at. And what that draft in or around June will be is council taking a look at our product and saying, okay, here's the $2 to $5 million that we've identified for each of the 5 years of the capital improvement plan. And whether or not council wants to discuss those and or approve them. And then, of course, we need to have a public hearing, and we will certainly invite members of the community to just kind of come in. We'll go through the process, answer any questions that they might have, just so that everybody can see how transparent we're being and how much we want to serve.
Yeah, so our goal then is to adopt it in August, and that way we'll be teed up for the general fund budget discussion, which we every year adopt in December. From a highlight perspective, one of the big project is the concept of relocating the public works to another location within the municipality and building a public works facility or campus. It includes the animal shelter, salt storage, area for all of our vehicles, including the sanitation and refuse and recycling, the MS4 vehicles or stormwater vehicles, the street maintenance vehicles, the street light vehicles, the parks and recreation equipment that we have, as well as the mechanic space to support all of that. And we have several other outbuildings involved in that project. It really is a public works campus, and where it's at right now is about 40 to 44 million. So to contextualize it, we'd like to frame it this way. You could think of a supply demand. The demand is that wish list or the needs. What are the needs 5 to 10 years out? But particularly within the 5 years, what's the demand side? What do our departments need? What building improvements do we need? What equipment do we need? And then the supply side, that's the tough thing, right? Because if you look at it just linearly as a fixed object, you only will be able to get what you can afford. Just like at your house, there's not a lot of options. You might want to go to Disney, but you might only be able to afford Idlewild, you know? So same with us. We might want to do or have a desire to do the $44 million public works facility, but it may be vastly different from that by the time we really figure out what our supply is. Nobody wants to see tax increases. So from our vantage point, staff-wise, we're going to try to frame it, giving a council a lot of options and ways to look at it, but pretty much it will be within existing revenue sources to the best of our ability, which will really greatly constrain that demand. You know, the demand will be constrained by supply in this case of money. So what I like about it too is that you really jumped in with 2 feet. And I think I heard you say it gave you a chance to kind of right away get into all of the different various departments and operations.
Yeah, it was the best way to jump in. So luckily, I've had local government management experience prior to this position, but every area is different. Every local government is different, and you use different softwares, and you do things differently. And so it was an amazing opportunity to just meet with department heads, meet their teams, and ask questions, and really just kind of get my face out there and offer an opportunity to say, like, this is what we want to do for you as a team. You know, we want to make sure that your needs are being met, and we want your voices to be heard, and we want to do all of this so that we can serve the residents of Monroeville. And just having that opportunity to participate with everybody in such a short time that I've been here has been amazing.
Yeah, and what we want to do as well is help the public understand. You mentioned earlier that we hope to have a draft in June that they'll be able to review, but I think it's really important that they watch our municipal meetings, first and second Tuesday, you know, during these months to get a sense on what we're discussing at those meetings. We'll probably be doing some sort of presentations possibly in June and July that at a high level, you know, review the document. And then importantly, you know, the goal is in August to adopt the plan. And then from thereafter, annually adopt the plan each August so that, you know, we have that discipline and can kind of figure out where we're going as far as capital expenditures. Besides the capital budget, again, there's so many things you're working on. Communications, you're involved heavily in moving us forward there. Other items related to just improving the way we serve our coworkers as well as serving the community. You've been here a few months. You like it?
I do like it. I have served in both local manager and also assistant manager roles. I particularly love this role because not only is the culture amazing and our team, our staff is amazing, I enjoy serving alongside you. So in leadership theory, people don't work for organizations, we work for people. And one of the things that really caught me as an interest to this position was our initial connection. And I really want to build upon that and really look to you as not only a mentor, but someone who I can also share knowledge with. And having a leader that is understanding, that really focuses on serving others, that's exactly where I want to be, because that's the heart of government, is serving.
Well, you set a high standard in that, and I appreciate those words. I think we're trying to set that internally within our group. Our department heads are amazing. Our elected officials are incredible. It's going to be really tough this year because this is the last year with Mayor Dr. Nick Resock and his importance to me personally. He's been that to me. He's been a very inspiring leader, someone I'm just love to work alongside. So I'm really, you know, hoping he'll stick around and be very active. But you're right, this community and its staff is really interested in serving people well. And we're grateful, I think, and very blessed that we have a community like Monroeville to serve. Michaela, I'm very thankful that you've joined us. I hope you stay a long time. You know, the governorship can wait. You're a young person, so you can wait a while before you run for that. But I know as long as you're in Monroeville, great things will happen. So thank you for taking the time to be with us a short period. If anybody wants to get a hold of Michaela, they sure can do that, just simply by looking up her information online, and can send her an email and connect with her. I know she'll be glad to meet you. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yep. On the way next, a recap from the 30th annual Jack Sedlock Memorial Cleanup Day event held last month. That and the Manager's Minute on Service when Monroeville at Your Service returns.